So I'm back. I have a bit more to share today. I'm in a really bad mood today. I'm really grumpy. I think I got PMS. I think I haven't had a normal period for like 7 or 8 months. And before, okay, I need to start again. I'm in a really bad mood today. I haven't had a normal period for about 2 years, to be honest. And I feel like my cycle's finally going back to normal after all the drama I've been through with my IUD and everything. So I feel like I've got really bad PMS today, and I normally don't really get PMS. Like, some women get really bad PMS and I don't, but I'm really grumpy today, so I feel like I've got PMS today. And if I do get PMS, like, it's normally just for like one day. I'll be really grumpy for like a day or two at maximum, and I don't yell or scream or carry on or anything. I'll just be like, agitated. That's what it feels like, just agitated and grumpy. So, but normally I don't really get symptoms, So this is all just letting my body get back to normal after having my IUD taken out. So I've got PMS and I'm flaring and I'm getting over my flu shot. So yeah, Ben came home on his lunch break and he said something smart and I just glared at him. I'm like, it is not the day. Like, don't. And he's like, what happened? And I'm like, I've just got PMS, okay? And he's like, oh, is that it? But it wasn't just that. I said, look, I had a crappy morning of phone calls as well. And I just want to like have a whinge and like talk about the fact that it is so hard to get support in Australia in a lot of ways. Like, my kids all have NDIS with varying degrees of funding, and it's really hard to get funding. Just went through the whole thing with my daughter of trying to get a support worker for her, and it got rejected. I spent 6 months working with like all these people, like 6 different people to support her to get all this funding together, and it basically fizzled out and went nowhere. It did help with the school side of stuff, but it didn't really help with anything else. And then I appealed that, and I was trying to get core funding, and then that got appealed. I appealed it and they said no, and they said if you want to take it further you have to go to court. And then I was like, okay, fine, I'll go to court. But my support coordinator's like, oh, it's not a great process. And then, my arm's hurting today. And I scratched my neck. It's a bit hard. And then the psychologist was like, it's not a great idea. She's like, I'll support you if you want to go through with it, but it's an icky process. And so, I was prepared to do it, but then I got advised against it, and I just didn't know what to do. You don't know what to do. And I'm like, I could go through all of that and it could come up with just the same outcome. Then I've wasted another 6 months of my life, so you just don't know what to do. And I rang Bill Shorten's office to lodge a complaint, and then I rang Bill Shorten's office to lodge a complaint, and then the guy who I spoke to asked me if I was trying to spend her funding on toys, and I went apeshit. I was hysterical. I'm not gonna lie, I was absolutely full-blown hysterical by the end of that phone call, because what an insult. It's such an insult to parents. I've got 3 children on the spectrum, 3 beautiful children who I love very much, and I work really hard to try and get them the right help and support, whether that's education wise or support workers or whatever. And someone say, well, you're trying to spend your daughter's funding on toys. It's like, dude, I'm just trying to do the right thing by my kid. Like, come on, And you just wonder if these people have a clue, like the people when you ring the NDIS, these people who answer the phone, they literally Google it. It's like, I could have done that without ringing you. I could have done that myself. So the people who are employed by the NDIS don't have a clue. A lot of the planners don't have families with autism. That's not a prerequisite to get the NDIS. So it's like a lot of the people who are making these decisions don't even know what it's really like to live this day to day, right? So it's hard to get the appropriate funding through the NDIS. And so I'm thinking about applying for the NDIS myself because I have fibromyalgia. I believe I'm autistic and have ADHD. Hoping to get diagnosed this year. I was supposed to see the psychiatrist in February, and I had to push it back because of my damn hyperplasia and the IUD causing me nothing but problems. And that IUD just caused me problems right up until a month ago, like when I had it taken out about a month ago. And I was starting to finally feel better, and the flu shot has dropped me this week, but normally I was feeling better. And I've just had to like keep putting that appointment, like keep pushing it back, because I just didn't feel up to it, you know, physically. So that's pushed my diagnosis back, and then it takes time to get a diagnosis, and then once I get the diagnosis, then applying for the NDIS, that takes months. So everything's just been pushed back. And like, if I'm autistic and have ADHD, I've had it my whole life, right? I'm 41. What's another year? What's another few months? But it does make a difference, because that could be time when I could be getting help and support. And it's just so frustrating, because like the NDIS will look at each person as an individual, but they don't take a family situation into account. No one at the NDIS has ever taken into account the fact that I have 3 children with autism and I was a single mum, like that it was hard. No one ever took that into account. You know, they take each person into account. You know, it's very, very hard. So anyway, blah, 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 blah. I rang up this mental health group and I'm like, not that I really have, I mean, that's the thing, all the shit I've been through, I don't really have a mental health diagnosis. I haven't been diagnosed with bipolar. I haven't been diagnosed with depression. My rheumatologist wrote that I had depression on my file last time I saw him, and I never said I was depressed. I said I was in pain. But I don't know, it's like every time you say you're in pain, they write down depression, and it's like, I don't know, I just fucking give up, whatever. But I'm not depressed. I'm a carer. I get tired a lot. Like, I'm burnt out. You know, I've got fibro, and I come home, I take my NDIS, and that's it, you know. Like, I don't go out at night. I don't go out because I get tired, and I take my tablet and it makes me tired, and I just chill at home, you know. So having chronic illness, disability, being a carer is very, very isolating. And so that led me to come online and make a YouTube channel and talk to people online, because it's less energy. It's easy to talk to someone online. You know, I can talk to someone in my pajamas online. I don't have to have a shower and wash my hair. And if I'm feeling crappy or I'm flaring, that person's not going to judge me. I can just talk to them online, you know. So I think a lot of people with chronic illness, disabilities, go online for support or work, right? So, but anyway, I rang up this company. My friend goes there, so I was trying to get hooked up with this company so I can hang out with my friend and have some support. And they were like, I mean, they were pretty good. They said, like, they mostly do mental health, but I said, well, look, I said, it's not so much mental health, but it's more a physical problem. Like, I have fibro and I'm isolated and stuff. I said, if I don't get support, I might end up with a mental health disorder. You know, she's like, oh, well, that's fine, as long as you're struggling. It's like, well, geez, haven't I got enough? Like, isn't that enough? Like, do I have to present with bipolar or borderline personality disorder or something, like, on top of that? On top of having fibro, on top of being a carer, on top of PTSD and chronic fatigue or whatever the fuck. I don't know. I don't know what's going on with me, but I can tell you what I think I've got wrong with me. I think that I'm autistic. I think that I have ADHD. I think that I have PTSD. I think that, so that's what I think. I don't know what else I could have. Maybe I don't have anything. Maybe I'm just autistic and I think too much, you know? I don't know. But what I do know is that I've been really sick for a long time, and I've had to learn to cut back, and I've had to learn that some things aren't worth the effort. Like, I was trying to get a uni degree and I couldn't concentrate, you know. That's why I stopped. I couldn't concentrate to save my life. Like, I had such bad brain fog and I couldn't concentrate, and I just gave up, you know. I had a lot going on, and yeah, there's so much going on, and I just couldn't concentrate. And I mean, I've always struggled with that level of concentration. but it was even worse then. Like, I just don't think I'm academic. Like, I'm not stupid. I'm an intelligent person, but I find studying so boring and I hate it. And yeah, okay, I did do a couple of uni courses by distance, and I got a distinction for one of them. Or I think it was one of the units I got a distinction. But, like that particular unit, I didn't even do half the work. Like, at that time, I was homeschooling, and I was supposed to be reading 80 pages a week of my textbook, right? And I didn't read any of it. When it came to, I read what I could, and then I just ran out of time. I was just so busy with the kids that I put them first, and I didn't have any time. So I thought I'm still going to try and do the assignment. So what I did was that when I read the questions of the assignment, and then I went to the back of the textbook and found the subjects that I was supposed to be reading about and like the main points. And then I went back and read like maybe 5 or 6 pages of the main points that were touched on the assignment. And then I YouTubed, like say it was a theorem or a theory or something, I was doing a teaching degree, then I would then YouTube it or Google it to get a more in-depth video about that general topic. And then I would go and find a peer-reviewed article on that topic. And that was how I was able to sort of get a distinction without reading the entire textbook. But that's all I could do. Like, I didn't have time to read 80 pages and I couldn't absorb it, whereas if I'm watching it on YouTube and I'm looking at, like, watching a visual, it sinks in a hell of a lot better. Sometimes I'll read the same page over and over and it won't sink in. And I found that when I was a teenager as well. I would be reading books. Sometimes I'd read the same page over and over and over, and it just, in one ear and out the other, like I never even read it. So yeah, I don't know what's wrong with me. And I mean, it's not necessarily about having something wrong with you. It's just this feeling, or I suppose not a feeling, but knowing that you can't keep up with other people. Like, knowing that you're different. My whole life I felt different. I felt like an outsider, and I always knew that I was different to other people, and I could never understand what it was or why. And like, I had to learn social skills. I had to learn how to make small talk. I remember, like, it wasn't until I was like nearly 30 that I learned how to make small talk. And you tell me I'm not autistic? Like, I just didn't understand. Like, I would see people who walk up to each other in the street who don't know each other or barely know each other, or group activities or something, and one person would be like, oh yeah, nice weather, isn't it? They would be like, yeah, it's sunny, blah, blah, blah. Oh yeah, how are the kids, or whatever. And they just know what to say. And I would know, like, I would feel like when I walked up to somebody or I was standing next to somebody, I literally would be thinking in my head, what should I say to this person? Should I ask them about the weather? And then I think that's a really boring subject. It'd be a better thing to talk about. Like, and then I'd be thinking of like all these deep things to say, and then, because I've found small talk really boring, right? Apparently that's an autistic trait. And so I had to like watch people and eavesdrop on conversations to learn how to create small talk. And that's like, I've got to be autistic, right? Like, I have to be. That is like ridiculous. Who does that? But I didn't understand how to do it. And also too, I sort of had to learn to get over being self-conscious as well. I think I was just so self-conscious of people judging me, or like I would think, what will someone think about me? Or if I say this, what are they going to think about? And I like had to get over that. I don't care anymore. Like, obviously I'm on YouTube, I'm talking about whatever. Don't care what people say. They either like me or they don't. I don't try to upset or offend anybody. I just speak from the heart. But I used to be very, very self-conscious. And I don't know if that's an autism thing or whether that came from having parents who were socially awkward, but probably on the spectrum themselves. How much of it is nature versus nurture. But, it's definitely some traits that I see in my children that I had. So I'm like, and I've got 3 children on the spectrum with ADHD. Like, I'm pretty sure that I must be on there too. So, but I haven't let it stop me from doing a lot of things. I've done, some interesting things in my life, but I feel as though I struggled at school. Like, I really, really struggled at school, and I tried so hard. I tried so hard at school, and I failed so badly. I went to year 12 and I didn't get a good mark. I couldn't get into uni. I remember just being so devastated that I didn't get into university, and I tried so hard and it wasn't good enough. And that was, it was hard, and I'm so grateful that in this day and age we have YouTube and we have Amazon and we have all these different ways people can work from home and stuff. And I really want to try and do that, like I want to make money online and do things online because I'm a carer, I'm disabled, got chronic illness. I guess having a diagnosis of fibromyalgia and accepting the fact that I'm probably on the spectrum and got ADHD, like, it allows me to sort of take that pressure off myself and allow myself to be creative and think outside the box and go, I don't have to follow everyone else's path, like the traditional path is go to school, work hard, get into uni, go to uni, get a good job, blah, 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 blah. What happens to the people who fall through the cracks? I'm one of those people. I fell through the cracks. I went to school, I tried my hardest, and I failed. I got my year 12 certificate, but my marks weren't good enough to get into uni. And then I just went and got married and had kids, right? So I'm one of those people who fell through the cracks. I fell for the dream that they promise, and it didn't work for me because I'm most likely neurodivergent and have a disability. And I spent my whole life not knowing that. How unfair is that, And now I've got a physical disability. Well, I've got a diagnosis. I've probably always had it for 20 years. But again, I didn't know I had fibromyalgia. I didn't know that I'm probably autistic and got ADHD. And I spent my whole life trying to be something that I'm not. And it's just such a kick in the guts, In one way, you think, oh my God, like, no wonder I struggled so fucking much. But on the other hand, it's like, I don't have to struggle anymore. I can lean into this. Like, I can try and work for myself. I can find ways to make money online. Like, I don't have to fit inside this box anymore that society put me in. And that is actually a huge relief. That's a really good feeling that I am different. I'm allowed to be different. I don't have to be what society tells me to be. But I still have to go through the steps. I still have to jump through the hoops to get the diagnosis and all the rest of it. But if I want the diagnosis for formal reasons, then I have to do that. But yeah, so anyway, I rang up this mental health place and they basically told me I had to jump through all these hoops if I wanted help and support. It just really pissed me off because I'm like, you try so hard and you're still just a number and you got to jump through all the hoops and you can't get the support you need sometimes, and it's really, really hard, and I've never really gotten much support or help from charities and things. Like, I've had to go private for nearly everything that I've ever gotten because it's been too hard to get any help. Every time you go get help, it's like a 6-month wait to a 12-month wait. And it's like, you can't wait that long sometimes. And you end up just paying money. Anyway, I lost my train of thought. I don't know where I was up to. But, I guess basically I'm just frustrated today because my daughter didn't get the help that she didn't. NDIS are hard to deal with, right? They're hard to deal with. They don't give you enough funding. None of my kids have enough funding. All the people I've talked to, can't believe you haven't got more funding, can't believe you don't get more support, blah, blah, blah. But I just can't seem to get anywhere with the NDIS, and they've cut everything back. And then I rung up a mental health group, not for my mental health, but for the group activities. They have group get-togethers, and they do things as a group. And that's what I was trying to get help through this mental health group, because my friend goes there and she said that they have people with, trans people, people with chronic illnesses, people with disabilities, people with mental health, like people who need support, you know. And that's what she was trying to say to me. She's like, you know, it's not just mental health, it's like all sorts of things. So I rang up to try and get hooked up with them, and finding out that I have to jump through all these hoops, I have to prove that I need the help, I need to like say like I've got all these problems and like blah 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 blah, and I just feel like I have to prove, you know, I have to jump through the hoops, I have to prove and jump up and down and be like, if I don't get help, I might end up with depression, blah 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 blah, or I have to say that I have depression or whatever, like just to get support. And it's just really triggering because I've been down that track with the NDIS for my kids and stuff, and you know, I think I need to get the NDIS for myself so I can get regular physio and things like that. Yeah, it's just sucks, and I wish I didn't have fibro. I wish I didn't have it, but that's something I have and I can't take it away. I can manage it. I can get as healthy as I can so that it barely bothers me, but it will always be there, and it's always going to come back and bite me when I get the flu, or when I get, probably every time I get my period, I always feel like I'm having a mild flare. You know, it's just something that I have to deal with. I'm lucky that mine does go into remission most of the time. Some people apparently have chronic fibro. I couldn't even imagine living like this every day. Like, I feel so bad today. If I was like this every single day, and I was like this nearly every single day for over 6 months last year, it is very, very hard to deal with. So it's a bit soul crushing. It's a bit, makes you not feel the best. And I suppose I am on a health journey, and I'm trying to work out where I fit. Like, what's my life look like now, pretty much, you know? Like, if I am autistic and I do have ADHD, then that makes me a neurodivergent woman who only just found that out. I'm a disabled woman who I only just found that out last year. So it's like, I suppose I've been trying to be something I'm not for so long. Now I'm finding out who I am, and that's a transformation, and it's change, and it's hard, because I suppose I'm finding my real voice and my real self for the first time ever. And I'm accepting the things about myself. Like, I've always been called quirky and creative and all these things. And, you know, I'm not normal, whatever normal means, but I'm not neurotypical. And I've always known that I've been different and I stand out. Like, you know, people will look at me because of the way I'm dressed. I'm not today, obviously, but in the past, you know, like, I've drawn attention to myself, not meaning to, but just because I dress differently or whatever. And I'm just finding, I guess I'm stepping into my power. Maybe I could say it like that. I'm accepting who I am. I'm finding out who I am. And it's not a bad thing. It's just, it's painful to realize that it took me this long, I suppose. But I suppose at least if I get there in the end, that's all that matters, hey?